Who is Professor Charles Xavier? What were his views on human life? And how can we learn from his inspiring words as a way to guide our own humanity? Also known as Professor X, he is a fictional character with immense psychic powers. He is the mentor and leader of the X-Men, a group of mutant superheroes who graced the pages of Marvel Comics ever since the 1960s. He is a symbol of hope, wisdom, and his views on humanity came about during a time of civil strife in America, giving a very apropos feel to the message of the X-Men comics. Today we will take a look at 4 inspirational quotes from Professor X that remind us to give our humanity a chance and not give up on people even when they do everything with their actions to provoke our darkest angels. Number 1. Mankind is not evil, just uninformed. This quote speaks volumes about the world we live in today. It shows us that Charles does not harbor hatred towards mankind, but he more pities them for their ignorance. This quote is a very accurate representation of the world today, because now more than ever, people seem to let their emotions rule their actions instead of giving to reason and critical thinking. I believe Professor X is saying that mankind's ignorance is not reason enough to hate them, because ignorance is not a crime. It is simply not knowing. Is ignorance truly bliss? Is intelligence a curse in a world gone to emotion? This quote holds heavy meaning because with more information available at our fingertips, it seems people are more ignorant than they have ever been. Riots, wars, and general chaos have always been an issue for humanity, especially in certain regions throughout history. But today we have more access to knowledge and information than we ever have had, to learn about others and see what their culture is all about, so we can understand them better. But is this access to knowledge also a curse? Because with the good comes the bad. The tale as old as time is to be afraid of anything or anyone that is different from you. But in such a globalized world, it seems the planet is getting smaller and smaller. This should bring us together to help solve global problems, but instead we have so-called leaders who are supposed to galvanize the public into positive notions, but instead they divide us even more, based on their views, their wants, and their needs. We tend to let propaganda and the voices of those who live for chaos influence our minds and hearts. Professor X had the patience and intelligence to see that with a little bit of both, we can learn a lot about each other and see that we are the same Earthlings. This quote shows that ignorance impairs intelligence, and when intelligence and common sense go out the window, then our actions can seem evil. It is the ability to learn about each other that can unite us. But when we choose to be ignorant, then our humanity is put aside and replaced with our baser instincts. This quote shows that knowledge is truly the gatekeeper to our humanity. Number 2. You are not broken. This short but very powerful quote sums up how Charles felt about everyone. He always felt that he could help anyone, whether human or mutant. No one is beyond saving. No one is beyond finding who they truly are and repairing the traumas that have manifested into anger and rage, taking control of us. He said, don't let it control you. Charles deals with the hardest cases possible, with mutants who can literally kill with a look, and if he believes that no one is broken, then there is hope for all of us. He may be a fictional character, but all of these characters have real-world applications to teach us about ourselves and others. It is not about fixing people, because people are not watches to be fixed, but it is about realizing that human life can be very difficult, and whatever trauma we have been through, there is always a coming back from the darkness. Basically giving hope, giving understanding, giving a helping hand to show that we are all a little broken on the inside was his modus operandi. He believed that it is the ability to put our grief and issues into our character and use them to channel our own inner greatness that makes us all capable of amazing feats. Number 3. Just because someone stumbles and loses their way doesn't mean they're lost forever. What a great quote. This quote from Charles shows his belief in the quintessential trait that makes human beings so powerful: hope. With this powerful line, he shows us that we all are going to lose our way from time to time. Struggle almost every day of our short lives, but it is the struggle that is beautiful, the struggle that makes us human. It is the pain and suffering that makes us stronger and gives us the ability to empathize with others going through the same thing. Most of us will lose our way at least once in our lives. Some of us more than others, once a month or once a year. But regardless, it is the failure that makes us human. If you fail constantly throughout life and never learn from it, then you are wasting that potential. But a person who is always failing and always learning, never repeating those mistakes again, is a person who is more evolved than the rest. Professor X knew human beings better than we know ourselves. Because of his psychic powers, he could see our thoughts and what makes us tick with emotional fragility. This is a quote of hope, because we will all lose our way, but finding our way back should be a journey of self-exploration. Embracing the suffering builds character, and this quote shows that losing your way is a short-term misery, but finding your way back regardless of how long it takes you leads to long-term enlightenment. Number 4. A gift can often be a curse. Give someone wings, and they may fly too close to the sun. Give them the power of prophecy, and they may live in fear of the future. Give them the greatest gift of all, powers beyond imagination, and they may think they are meant to rule the world. We will end on this magnificent quote of self-understanding. I believe what Professor X meant with this quote is there needs to be a great deal of humility and respectful fear when one acquires power. If a person is given a large amount of money without earning that money, they may be doomed to spend that money with frivolity because they did not have to sweat and suffer to attain it. But if a person earns every last cent they have, then they know what went into earning this money, and they are less likely to waste it on things that they do not need. This is a notion that is highly personality dependent, but for the most part, what is given freely is more easily spent than what is given with time and suffering. The key to this, I believe, is appreciation. It is the ability to appreciate what you have that makes you humble or a braggart. In today's world, people tend to forget how lucky we truly are. We are living in the greatest time in human history, a time of innovation and exploration. But with these actions come fear and apprehension. Although life can be a roll of the dice, we all have the ability to better ourselves. Of course, some more than others, because we cannot control what we are born into and where we are raised, but we can choose what we decide to do with what we have. I believe the ability to appreciate tends to be a forgotten notion in today's world. People are quick to complain about what they do not have than the gifts they are given, because in a world that covets the dollar and possessions, people tend to have only one marker in mind that determines their worth. I believe Professor X is trying to show us that whatever your gifts may be, we should approach these gifts with a great deal of apprehension. We should be weary of things that come too easy, because those things tend to be fleeting. This quote shows us that humanity may not be the best with notions of power. Given great power, many tend to misuse it for their own benefit and to the detriment of others. But if that power is earned through means of positive acquisition, then that power will become a gift for mankind, not a curse. What can we learn from the words of Professor X? I believe we can learn about our own humanity. I chose this character because although he is one of the most mentally powerful characters in his universe, he tends to understand humans more than we understand ourselves, due to his psychic powers, but also his natural ability to empathize with others. He shows us that if someone who can destroy us all with a thought can love us all enough to want to save us from ourselves, then we can turn that inward and look for ways to understand our fellow man. Hope, not destitution. Love, not hate. Empathy, not apathy. These are concepts upon which Charles lived his life, and although a fictional character, he can teach us a lot about ourselves as humans and how we can constantly improve our own preconceived notions about others. We need to see that no matter where you are on the planet, where the sun hits your skin causing the melanin to create different shades, this means nothing, because if beings from another planet were to come to Earth, they would see us as Earthlings, not by individual races. It is very important to embrace your culture, your motherland, your ancestry, but when these wonderful things that make you who you are start turning you away from your humanity, causing you to adopt clannish behavior, excluding people based on trivialities beyond their control, then that is where we can look to the words of Professor X. Thanks for watching, and I hope if you share these sentiments, you can wield your own inner power by giving hope to those you do not understand, adding to your character and building theirs. As Professor X said, unleash your power.